Hi, I'm David Rogers, and today I wanted to talk to you about a concept that was brought up to me from a leader recently about don't you need to get your group to buy in before they actually make change? And just so you know, from our perspective at Impact, our answer to that is no, absolutely not. Do not go for buy-in first because it's fraught with problems. And the main problem is in today's world, you can't just ask for buy-in or pitch for buy-in. You have to earn it. People are being pitched so many concepts and ideas to buy into, and they're just not taking it anymore. And so if you link that to just basic human reactions, we actually don't buy into things until we actually see them working first. So it's not the way to go about it. It's not the way to make progress. And if you do it as a leader, what you come across as is selling to a cold audience. And that just does not work. So what does work? Well, we found a 3-step process that you can actually implement in one meeting with your team to get them on board. And rather than buying into a change, to actually be owners of the change that needs to happen. And that's what I'd like to share with you here. And the 3 steps are, first, put together your story about what's actually happening now and what needs to be addressed. The second step is then bring it to the team and engage them in filling out the story, understanding it, and coming up with the solutions that you need as a team. And then finally, the third step is taking those solutions and boiling them down to what's the highest leverage one to start with, and then get moving on that area. It's really simple and it's really fast. So let's start with the first one, preparing the story. It starts with your external business drivers. It's not just a story you make up. What you look at is what are the external drivers for your business that you have to respond to, but by definition, you don't have control over. That can be things like new customer demands, new technology that people are demanding be a part of what you're doing, new regulations. It could be other impacts on your business, whether it's a pandemic, supply chain, politics, community, competition is one that can affect your business that you don't control, but you have to respond to be successful. So make a list of these. It's pretty simple. It's a brainstorm. Sit down and brainstorm the list. Get them organized. Look at the ones that are the primary ones that are affecting you. And then once you have that list, make a second list. And it can be a much shorter list of what are a few of the things that you see we need to shift in the way we execute, in the way we work together to actually produce the results we need to really address these more effectively. Once you have that, that creates the basis of your story. And trust me, it doesn't need to be perfect, and it shouldn't be perfect, because you want to have openings and holes in it, because really you want those holes and openings to be filled by your team as a way for them to engage. And that brings us to part 2, step 2, which is call a meeting with your team. Now, I suggest this be a one-topic meeting just on this topic, because this is more strategic thinking, and you don't want to confuse it with all the other action things that you have to do in other meetings. You want to give a space for people to be able to think just about this topic. And the way you present it as a story is you actually lay out your brainstorm of the drivers that are affecting us today. And you start to talk about that's why we have this need, and that's what this driver will affect the other, and we have to respond to both, and just kind of lay out your view of it for the group. But don't spend a lot of time on it. Don't perfect it. Start to open it up to get dialogue from the group. What questions do they have? Are there drivers that I didn't capture here today yet? And let's get those up there. Do it on a whiteboard or on some sort of thing where you can start adjusting it as a team. So it becomes a part of the dialogue, and you're starting to adjust and change it as people input into it. Once that gels a little bit, then move it into the second part of the discussion, which is what are the things that we're going to have to change in the way we work, some of the shifts we need to make to be able to address this and still be successful in the work we're here to do. And that's where they really can input, because this is the how-to. How are we going to need to shift to handle this? And you can put your ideas in equally, and you've prepared some to seed the discussion. When that starts to gel all together and look like you've covered the main points, slow the discussion down, take charge of it again, and just summarize it in terms of telling the story of what's happening and how we can best respond to it. If that hits with the group, you've really accomplished most of what you're there to accomplish right now, because it's turned from just your view of the change to what together we're seeing as the need for change is, and the key things we need to do, the key shifts we need to do to make the change. And now it's become their idea and they're owning it. There was no telling, there was no selling, and there was no buy-in process to get there. It was an engagement and involvement that created the ownership. And here's the big part of it. Even the bigger win, besides getting the alignment, is you've provided a space for them to think at the level of a business owner rather than employee. And that is precious. That kind of thinking alone will help them realize how they're impacting the business with what they do or don't do, how they need to coordinate, behave differently, and you haven't promoted it to them at all. They've done it through a thinking process that's going to stay with them for the rest of their career. It's amazing. You could stop there, but don't. There's another part of the process. Now, take some minutes to look at it and say, on these shifts that we've created, rather than try and do them all at once and get overwhelmed, let's look at where we start. Where's the starting point here that would have the highest leverage for us, the best bang for the buck to move us forward in our current situation? Do that, and now you're starting to land the plane so you can take action. I wouldn't do the action plan right there, but I'd kind of close the meeting up. But you can ask, who is it here that wants to be involved in framing what we're going to do here? And I think you'd be pleasantly surprised at the response. So give this a try. Let us know how it goes for you, and let's get out there and do some good work.